how are they doing this now? How are the Blue Jays this much better from the team that played a year ago? Let's get into it, and then a bit of a snub for one of their top players. So the Toronto Blue Jays are just never going to lose again. They pick up another series sweep, this time over the Angels of Los Angeles, Anaheim, California. That joke's better if I use it better. Anyway, the Blue Jays continue to roll. And what is great is that it feels like it is a different player doing a different thing every single night. And they have been doing this to such a degree now that we are getting into best start in team history territory for this group, which is wild considering this team. And so Toxic over on Twitch asks point blank, basically, how? The roster is essentially the same going into this season. So how is it that this team is now doing things differently? Deed's letting us know that Twitch is still twitchy. Gonna have to get that figured out. Not sure what's going on over there. But yes, how is this happening? Because you look at it, and the big change that was made, the big move in the offseason, was to go out and acquire Anthony Santander in free agency to be that big rock in the middle of that order. And even when healthy, you haven't really gotten a whole lot out of that. So where is the difference, and where is the better? Because, I mean, another difference is Vlad isn't hitting. I mean, he's hitting, like he's an all-star, but he is not at the torrid pace that he was in the back part of 2024. So again, how? And I think it's a couple of things. I think one, it is a change in approach. And George Springer, I think, really highlights what is happening there, as he has put a real focus, I guess, on hard contact and launch angle and all of those things. And now look, like it is easy to say everyone in baseball is trying to hit the baseball hard, but he is particularly good at hitting. And so to now have this change of, look, I am comfortable if I hit less, but the ones I hit them harder, I'm fine taking that trade-off. And he is such a smart hitter and such a good hitter that he has used his very good sense of the strike zone, his pretty good contact rate, to now turn that into hard hit balls, and he's really driving them all over the yard. So I would say he is one of the biggest changes, is that change in approach. And we are seeing a few guys just looking to hit the ball hard and change things, right? Like Addison Barger, kind of the same thing. Like, he is still in the upper part of the league when it comes to exit velocity. And it is him, it is Kirk as well. A lot of these guys have put a focus on hit the baseball hard and drive it instead of just, let's just hit it and see what happens. So I think that is a big part of it, is the turnarounds for Springer, Barger, and Kirk are the ones that are really leading the charge for this baseball team and really pushing them into this first place category, regardless of what Michael Kay thinks. And that is helping out a lot. And then I think it is just a better utilization of some of the other players. And I think that there was a little bit of painting with the same brush when it came to the hitting style with this team over the last couple of seasons. And it's, okay, we're going to do this, and then with two strikes, we're going to da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, what works for Springer isn't going to work for Bichette, which isn't going to work for Ernie Clement, and what works for him isn't going to work for Alejandro Kirk. These are different human beings, right? So you are going to have a different approach to figure out how to handle all of them. And the Jays have kind of understood, like, okay, this is what Springer needs to do to be successful. This is what Vladdy needs to do. This is what Kirk needs to do. Well, what does Ernie Clement need to do? Well, he's kind of only getting fastballs, so maybe we should focus on that a little bit, hey? And they focus on that. With Dalton Varsho, when he was turning things around, one of the things that we have heard about since the day he set foot here in Canada is this guy has trouble with that high fastball. And so they have adjusted things and figured out how to properly utilize all of his talents. And you look at the bottom of the order, like, okay, Jimenez, maybe not going to be this absolute bombing guy. So we need to utilize some small ball. Let's do some hit and run. Let's do some bunts, which I do not endorse, but they're working. Let's try to figure out how we can make each individual player on this team successful, instead of this is the way we are doing it and this is the way you are going to do it and we will be successful because this is what makes you successful. It is a different approach for each guy, and it just seems like they have found the right mix for those sorts. And again, another part of this, and I don't think he gets enough credit for it, but John Schneider is managing his ass off when it comes to this team, when it comes to lineup composition, when it comes to the deployment of the bullpen, when it comes to the different strategies that they are utilizing as the games go along, when it comes to hit and runs and sacrifice bunts and taking those extra bases and everything like that. You look at the difference right now between the Blue Jays and the Yankees. The Yankees had a very difficult time hitting with runners in scoring position against Toronto. And the Blue Jays came up with just big hit after big hit after big hit. Why? Because this is a team that is comfortable in their approach right now. But where were some of the other issues? It's Volpe making a diving play over at short, but then throwing it behind the runner at third base. It is a missed block behind home plate that leads to a game-winning run. The Yankees' problems with the fundamentals of baseball cost them a championship. Now, I don't think they're going to win that one anyway. But the Yankees had poor fundamentals. Obviously, they were able to adjust accordingly because they had a very good season getting to the World Series. But still, they gave up a lot of those easier type of plays and were just able to bash their way out of it. The Blue Jays don't give those up either, right? Like, every at-bat is a competitive one. Every play defensively is made and made almost perfectly, it feels like. And a lot of the decisions that are being made are made perfectly. So it is just an organizational shift. And it sounds so weird to say. It's an organizational shift to be smarter and better. But that's basically what the Blue Jays did, to come in with a different approach of how to handle everything. They have done that in a very, very successful way. And we will see now if that can continue. Because look, there is going to be a cooling off period for some of these guys. Like, I don't think Barger is going to be in the top 10 of exit velocity the entire season. But it's cool that he's doing it now, and I don't think that Lucas is going to keep hitting monster home runs or anything like that, but it's great that he's doing it now, and when there is a bit of a dip, maybe that is when Vladdy takes a 2-week run of just being the best hitter in baseball. Maybe that's when Bo Bichette really starts to turn it on. Or when a Dalton Varsho comes back into the lineup, or a Santander comes back into the lineup. That really will push them into an upper echelon when it comes to keeping at this pace now for Toronto. Toxic, again in the chat. I think the Jays need bullpen help. Having only 2 leverage guys is kind of rough. That is very true. That is very, very true. This is not a flawless baseball team. They need help in that bullpen, and honestly, probably more than just one guy. Like, I don't think this is as simple as go out, get Fairbanks, and boom, problem solved. This is going to be, like, that helps, for sure. But you are right. Getting one more guy you are comfortable with in leverage, huge, 100%. Lock that down. But I also think you are going to need another probably middle relief guy to get to those, because the starting pitching depth continues to be tested. So there are still a lot of different things that this Blue Jays team can add to, but it is very nice to be adding when it comes to a first place baseball team. Isn't it? Isn't it nice to be talking about that instead of, hey, well, a couple of these and maybe they can get to a wild card game that they're going to blow in heartbreaking fashion? Wouldn't that be swell? It is nice to be, hey, this team's in first place and still has a few things that they can improve on. On that note, I had someone make a comment on one of the Blue Jays videos that I posted talking about like what needs to be the look. And I just did that one in, hey, these are the things that they need. And one of the comments was, hey, like the video, which, thank you. Also, if you want to literally like it, just click that little thumbs up button. Helps me out a lot. But the second part was, I think that the bullpen is more of a priority here. And that was not the intention of it. I wasn't listing those off in order of need. It was just, I was talking about the offense. So coming up on the show tomorrow, when we do another live stream at 10 a.m. or the video out later in the day and podcast-wise and such, we're going to specifically break down what are the biggest priorities for the Blue Jays. Get that little checklist going for Toronto as we get into the trading season in Major League Baseball. As I mentioned, the next stream here for Couch Potato Diary is going to be coming at you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Hopefully, Twitch gets less twitchy by then, but either way, a few spots that you'll be able to check it out on. But Twitch, YouTube, and Kick going to be streaming live again tomorrow at 10 a.m. While things have been rolling, some people have noticed, but maybe not enough, as the Toronto Blue Jays are only sending two to the Midsummer Classic this year. Vlad Guerrero Jr. named a starter, and Alejandro Kirk is backup catcher, one of the reserves, at the catcher spot. I think a lot of years Kirk would have been the starter, but he is behind an MVP candidate out in Seattle with Cal Riley doing everything that he is doing. But I think there is one notable omission from this, and that is George Springer. And now, again, the caveat that all of this can change with 1 or 8 injuries that always seem to just pop up right as the All-Star game is going. But for him to not be included right now was surprising to me. Because it's not like this little hot stretch here. Like, it's not like he just hit the grand slam against the Yankees a week ago, and that is what really sets everything into motion. He has been a quality baseball player on this Blue Jays team all season long. And when you consider how good he has been for basically the entirety of the season, how good the Blue Jays have been hanging around, although I will say the national conversations have only included Toronto in the last little bit. But still, the Blue Jays have been a playoff team or somewhere thereabouts for most of the season, and Springer is a familiar name. Like, I am not sitting here today being like, oh my stars, how could Addison Barger not have cracked his way onto that list? Because unless your team has played him in the last few weeks, you're not really talking about him. And that is part of the All-Stars, is that you have to have a very good season and people need to know about you. Well, people know about George Springer, so I am surprised that he did not make this All-Star game. And I do think that from a Toronto standpoint, I think there's a couple of ways that this can be a positive for them still. Number one, I don't think it's the worst thing that George Springer gets a week off. Personally, I think that is actually a very beneficial and helpful thing for George Springer. He is having a phenomenal season. And the Blue Jays would just rather the All-Star break not happen and just play right through. But that's not how the schedule works. And so if you're going to have this break anyway, may as well let Springer fully enjoy it. And just like cold tub, hot tub the whole time. Just in, out, in, out, in, out, 7 days. Keep that body as fresh as possible, because he has dealt with injury issues, and he is on the wrong side of 30 when you are talking about professional athletes and everything like that. So I think having that extra week to just sit and chill, I think is going to be very important for him and for the Blue Jays. Also, I do think that it is nice while your team is rolling, and that's what the Blue Jays are. They are on fire right now. I think it is still nice to be able to have a little bit of no one believes in us mentality. And so for the Blue Jays to be a first place ball club and having 2 representatives in the All-Star game, I think that's nice to have George Springer have a bit of a chip on the shoulder. Like, hey, I'm playing at an All-Star level. You guys don't see it, I'll make you see it. And for John Schneider to go into that locker room every day and like, hey, look at that. I'm only looking around at 2 All-Stars here, apparently, and get this us against the world mentality that, quite frankly, teams in Canada seem to thrive on when it comes to sports that we are also included in when talking about our neighbors to the south. So I think that there is actually a little bit of a needle that Schneider can play with this whole thing that should help the Blue Jays out, or could, anyway, help the Blue Jays out down the road. But, again, no complaints about anything. This ball club is on some kind of roll right now. If you missed any of this, whether you are getting to the stream late or watching this later on and just want more from Couch Potato Diary, you can do that in podcast form, as we are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can take Couch Potato Diary with you wherever you go.